Hello, everyone. I am Ben Pick, and thank you for joining me in Running to Write, where I give questionable writing advice through writing metaphors. And I'm sorry I started off a few minutes late today. Don't know how it happened, but I copied the wrong script onto this computer from my one, which is explicitly in airplane mode. And then I realized that with a few minutes to spare, so I ran up, got the correct copy, ran back downstairs, put it on this computer. Somehow it was still the wrong version, so there was definitely a copy paste error. And then that happened like 3 more times. So I was just running up and down the stairs 4 times to get this script onto this computer. So yes, thank you, Self Pub with Andy, for joining us. Thank you, Jordan Mahoney. I appreciate you guys being here. You all are awesome. And yeah, let's get started. Whew. All right. So, when I wrote the idea for this episode, the temperature was in the single digits with bitter cold winds whipping me in the face. This past weekend, we hit 70 degrees. So obviously a lot changed in a couple of days. In fact, the temperature just now, well, when I went for my run this morning, perfectly fine 40s, not too bad. When I walked my dog just now, it was frigid. I was out there in a full winter jacket, had gloves on. Well, should have put gloves on because my hands got really cold. And yeah, it was pretty rough. So what I was going to say is that I haven't been riding these past 2 weeks because it's been way too cold and there's ice on the sidewalks, which would put me at risk of slipping. And I don't want to do that again. So I've been doing the bike. But now that it got to 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, I enjoyed a long run on Saturday and I enjoyed a great run on Monday morning, or this morning, actually. And now that it's back to cold, well, I could go for vacation where it's more consistent weather for starters. And second of all, not this cold. So now that I switched from indoor biking to outside running, this episode felt a little less timely, but we are coming back to it because, like I mentioned, the weather is pretty miserable outside, or at least very inconsistent. And I do kind of wish I was somewhere a little bit warmer, just like it was this morning, until the temperature dropped by a good 20 degrees for the afternoon. However, I'm still going to talk about my favorite fictional vacation spots because this comes back into focus, since now I do kind of wish that I were somewhere warmer. These are the places I enjoy traveling to in the books I've read from the safety of my own home. Sorry, I'm a little bit out of breath. I'm a little bit discombobulated. I've been, like I said, just running up and down the stairs. Cool. Now, that safety is ideal because it's a story, so there needs to be drama. When the setting is a paradise, I know, and we should know, that we need to be afraid. Sorry, I had an HDMI out converter in my pocket because, whatever. Anyways, when we're in a paradise, we know that things are going to change for the worse because a story happens when there's a shift from the status quo. We know there's about to be a body found, or the paradise is going to be destroyed, or the characters need to flee paradise when the cops start chasing them. Either way, the nicer the environment, the more idyllic it is, the more like a beach vacation it feels, with sandy beaches, mai tais on a lawn chair while you're staring at the ocean waves coming in and out, really, really relaxing. Well, things are going to go very, very badly very quickly, just around the corner in either the next page or the next chapter. It's one of many reasons why fictionalized vacation spots contain such a high percentage of murders, or the trips are cut short so the plot can happen. For example, I just finished reading Jurassic Park, and I would have loved to have visited Jurassic Park. However, the entire point of that novel is that life finds a way, and there are an infinite number of factors that John Hammond failed to account for, and thus what he perceives as a controlled zoo is doomed to failure. Meaning that, or put another way rather, visiting Jurassic Park would be gambling with my life, as it's only a matter of time before it becomes a fatal vacation. Might not be on the first trip, might not be on the second, but those dinosaurs are getting out. And they're going to end up feasting on park attendees, if not before anybody gets to the island, with the maintenance staff, which is kind of what triggers the events of Jurassic Park. Slight spoilers, I guess, but yeah, sure, I'll go there. Essentially, the entire plot of Jurassic Park hinges on a whole bunch of or rather, a couple of the dinosaurs getting out and harming the maintenance workers, the staff who are there tending to the cages and trying to work on building the roads and the maintenance and the infrastructure to then support the park attendees. And the only reason why they will allow the park to open, the investors, is if they can get sign off from experts in the field. Needless to say, things go badly, and yeah, well, you'll just have to read the book or watch the fantastic, fantastic movie. Now, with that in mind, there are a lot of factors to consider when choosing a vacation in a fictional location. Most stories have an idyllic setting that gets permanently ruined due to an antagonist. So I'll need to share some caveats to this list. Luthadel from Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn series, that's the main city where a lot of things happen. It might be a fun place to visit with its 1800s-ish European influence mixed with steampunk. Except only the nobility get to have great lives. Even comic magic users are desperate and constantly put their lives on the line simply to steal the food to survive, kind of like Les Miserables, except with, metal bending. Basically, the 40K Warhammer universe is eldritch horrors battling across the stars by sacrificing trillions of lives. The leader of the human race is an sorry. The leader of the human race is an immobile deity. They're basically just sitting on the throne while tens of thousands of souls are sacrificed to them per day, I think. It's tens of thousands of souls per extended period of time. It might be a month, but I'm pretty sure it's per day. And he's one of the better civilization leaders. There's there's beings, deities, who are the direct embodiments of chaos and disruption. And their hordes are tormented individuals who only live to cause harm to others. Yeah. There's a whole bunch of different races and civilizations, and there's a lot of fun ones. Really, really deep lore. It's fantastic universe to get involved in, and I'm only have a cursory knowledge of it. You basically have high elves in space. You have orcs whose machinery no one knows how it works, but it only works because they believe in it. So there's whatever. We don't need to talk about 40K. We're here to talk about vacation spots. So on that cheery note, these are some of the places I would like to visit in the stories I've read. Number one, we'll start off indie. The McMurdo Rift, from a book by the same name by Bradley Lejeune. The premise of the setting is that it's an easy oceanic cruise in space. Now, I'm not a fan of cruises in general, and I haven't been on one. I have no intention of ever being on one. Me being trapped on a boat, I'm not against being on boats, but like the entire experience of a cruise feels very honestly limiting to me, or rather catering to every indulgence that I think I want rather than what I actually want to do. I'd rather just travel to, say, a specific island and then just explore around there for a few days rather than go island hopping and getting kind of a Cliff Notes experience of different places. Should have grabbed water while I was ramping down the stairs. Sorry, this will be rough. Anyways, the fact that the space cruiser has indoor plumbing is a major advantage over most of my regular fantasy reads for places I'd like to visit. Even with modern fantasies, the main character is often low on funds, so frequently their apartment complex, wherever they're home, the electricity and water gets shut off. If it doesn't get shut off because of some magical mishap to begin with. Now, before the McMurdo Rift starts, the cruise is proceeding on a leisurely sightseeing tour to multiple planets, and that's a giant plus for my Earthbound life. Also, wow, thank you, sweetie. My lovely wife brought me a glass of water so I can actually not strain my throat. Thank you. Now, before the McMurdo Rift begins, it's a cruise proceeding as a leisurely sightseeing tour from planet to planet to planet. And unlike going island to island, obviously I will want to go and get a Cliff Notes tour of specific planets. I'm sure there's, a beach planet. I'm sure there's a technology planet. I'm sure there's all these little different things across the universe that they will be going to. I'm sure there's, Hoth, essentially, the planet completely covered in ice that is arguably not survivable or inhabitable, but is still, there's colonies there. And that would all be really cool things to visit. So that would be a giant plus for my Earthbound life. Also, in the first book at least, most of the dangerous events take place off the cruiser. So aside from some inconveniences, I'd be mostly safe. And lastly, there's an open bar, which brings me to my next ideal vacation spot. Number 2, Bullfinch's Pub from Tales from Bullfinch's Pub by Patrick Thomas. This is another indie read, and it takes place in New York City. More specifically, there's a bar at the end of the rainbow, which is owned by Leprechaun and serviced by Greek gods. So Dionysus is the Greek god of wine, among other things, and they're the bartender at this bar. So they come up with these elaborate concoctions that are, honestly, they sound delicious as they're written in the book. And so coming back to what Jordan said in the comments, this series is basically Cheers meets Percy Jackson. The bar is meant to be a sanctuary for those who need it, and they may be seeking safety, camaraderie, or simply getting over lost loved ones. And what I mean by what was said in the chat is Jordan answered my question about an imaginary place for him that he would want to go to is Camp Half-Blood in Percy Jackson. And yeah, that sounds wonderful. I'm actually watching the Percy Jackson show on Disney Plus. It's pretty good. It's definitely better than the movies. I don't think it lives quite up to the potential of the books, and there's a lot of choices that they made in conveying that. But I'm enjoying it. I think it's a pretty good rendition of Percy Jackson. We'll see how the season finishes out. And while I'm checking this out, thank you, Barrett Laurie, for joining us. Yeah. Wow. So you are braver than I am because you would be willing to go to Jurassic Park. So yeah, apparently you eat grocery store sushi. So yes, you do like to live dangerously. And honestly, as long as you survive, I will happily live vicariously through you. I do not need to see a velociraptor or a T-Rex in person. So, take plenty of photos and good luck to you. So remember, dinosaurs. There's a difference between the book dinosaurs and the dinosaurs in the movie, because the dinosaurs in the movie, they can't really see. If you stand still, they can't see you. In the book, that isn't exactly the case. So that's kind of just a movie convention. And yes. A lot of people are passing on cruises and or supporting Barrett Laurie's very ambitious goal of going to Jurassic Park. Ooh, Hobbiton is also a good one. And well, let's keep going back to this list. There might be some interesting things based on those comments as well. Now, Bullfinch's Pub has healed all those who pass through its doors, unless they're an antagonist or the literal Satan. And it makes them better people. Even topics as grim as death are able to be overcome collectively with support from therapist deities. I think Dionysus, maybe Hermes, one of the Greek gods, was there as a certified therapist to listen to a specific person's problems who came through the door and try and help them work through what that means and how to move on with their lives. And as I mentioned with Satan, if muscle is required to defeat demons, both inner and external, Hercules is there too. When the characters aren't thwarting malicious intent from Satan and other supernatural beings, they are hosting some amazing parties and all around shenanigans, which brought a smile to my face. They had one where they turned the bar into like a mini track and they were just doing laps while, drinking heavily. And There's a reason for it. I don't want to get into it, but basically, one of the characters, due to some mishap, was confined to a wheelchair. So they're trying to make him feel better and get comfortable with using the new, get comfortable with the change in their life and their physicality because they're no longer able to walk. So they turned the bar into a little mini course, I guess is the best way to put it. And so they were doing races and laps around it. So number three, not really though, because I had to think really hard for this next two. Number five is obvious, so we'll get there when we get there. But because number five combines all the things I like beautiful location, outstanding food, regular-ish celebrations, a touch of magic, and a lifestyle of enjoying life, which may be perceived as laziness. Yet I'm getting ahead of myself. These next two are tough because most of the stories I've read have high mortality rates in seemingly safe places. The starting village where every hero gets the starting village of the hero gets ransacked by chapter 3 at the latest, or a colonial satellite gets blown up by a missile and the residents get blasted out into space. Unless I'm visiting the setting in a romance story, I'd want to update my life insurance policy and make sure my will is in order were I to ever travel to any of the locations in the books behind me or on my Kindle. As for those romance settings, they rarely feel like a vacation. Many of them take place within the characters' regular lives. And sure, the characters experience plenty of drama, but most of the other people in those stories are simply living their lives. So, for example, what's a romance, kind of romance book I read was Devil Wears Prada, I guess is light romance, kind of. But a lot of the other ones, it's just kind of, well, never mind. That's a bad example because they go on a nice little Christmas vacation cruise or Christmas vacation to a whatever. Anyways, my point is that that's not ideal for this thought exercise. Now, I think all of us writers are guilty of disrupting the lives of plenty of innocent bystanders with our plots. That doesn't even factor into the large number of stories in which the entire world or universe is threatened by the events of our stories. I think half the books I've read either take place in an apocalypse, which I wouldn't want to visit, or could result in the antagonist taking over the world to remain or to recreate in their own image. Again, none of those are places I would want to visit. I could go with a basic answer like the restaurant at the end of the universe from Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe series. And there I could watch the violent end of the universe while animals come around and give me recommendations for eating parts of their bodies. It's kind of a weird scene where this talking cow comes around and starts recommending their choice flanks to give to the Arthur Dent. But that is a bit barbaric, and yet certainly a once in a lifetime experience. However, that's not what I'm going with here. I'm going with the floating continents in Mark DeGeorge's A Call to the Sky. This is the third indie book in a row, so go indie authors. You are awesome, and I really enjoy the worlds that you create. I don't know if that says more about us or the fact that I'm not really going with most traditional books. Anyways, in that world, the sense of limitless adventure is captured within those pages. Their society is based on humans living on floating islands, and there's poison gas above, there's poison gas below. So that gives them a very, very narrow band of life to live. They can't go on the surface of their planet. They can't go out to the stars to safety to expand to another colony where maybe there isn't poison gas above and below them. But even with that narrow span in which they can live, I mean, it's narrow is a relative term, but despite all that, the novel's world feels, in one word, free. There are pilots who rule the skies, and a good navigator is worth their weight in gold. Yes, there are deadly pirates who roam free, and resources are scarce. Still, soaring the skies in those books, it felt so invigorating and freeing. Not to mention, even if I weren't, well, I'd have to be a passenger on those planes because obviously, if I'm just visiting, I have no idea what I'd be doing, so I can't pilot it. Well, I would never get behind the controls. But even aside all that, the engineering feats are fascinating. There are so many moments when they were wandering through the physical devices keeping the islands afloat where I wanted the book to just pan a little bit over so we could see the future technology, which is doing what we currently can't do. Goes without saying that I'm a nerd because even on vacation, I'd be interested in physics and understanding technology around me. Yeah, that is a good question. I don't know. I thought Devil Wears Prada was kind of romance. I mean, there is definitely romance in there, but you're right. Drama is probably a better way of describing it. So there's that. Ooh, Devil Wears Prada is not romance. Fair enough. I can see that. And let's see here. Oh, cool, Jordan, you're watching the show as well. Nice. Um, yeah. Okay, that's fair. I think you're an episode ahead of us. I don't know. So you're on episode 7 of the new Percy Jackson series on Disney Plus. And yeah, I can see some problems with some of the characters. Makes perfect sense. No worries at all, Barrett. I frequently get off task, and well, that's what the show is. The show is just one wild tangent away from falling apart entirely. Ooh, okay. So Adriana wouldn't go beyond the wall. Sorry, you posted it. I lost it. Maybe you deleted the comment. Ah, right here. Behind the wall in Stardust. Cool, cool, cool. It's a very magical world. There's a lot going on. It's definitely fantastical. There's pirates, there's adventure, there's stars, living stars. I don't know. That is a great thought and one I didn't consider. Oh yeah, Barrett. There is an. I mean, it just came out, so you haven't been under a rock. So don't feel bad that you haven't watched it yet. Now, number 4, we have the Spanish countryside in Emma Bent's novel, His Secret Daughter. The main characters travel to Barcelona, Spain, and live a lavish lifestyle there. Barcelona is already one of the most beautiful cities I've visited, and I'd love to go back. But better than that, the characters in the story get VIP treatment. They travel all over the city. They get some of the best food. And honestly, Barcelona has some of the best seafood I've ever had in my life. And I was just going to regular corner side restaurants. To actually get some of the VIP treatment that they experience in that book is just mouth-wateringly delicious. And the characters also went to a family villa outside the city, which Emma wrote so well, it made me want to travel back to Spain and just go across the countryside. The sunny weather, the fantastic food, the open rolling hills, all of it sounds like my ideal vacation. And last, number 5. Well, I'm basic, so what can I say? Number 5, Hobbiton from The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. I just mentioned food, so the list of expected meals alone make me want to vacation there. We have breakfast, second breakfast, elevensies, luncheon, afternoon tea, dinner, and supper. I mean, I'm sold. I'm pretty sure you've heard my wife say it, but I can't go 20 minutes without eating. Like, I'm constantly throughout the day just getting my work done and then walking downstairs to grab a quick snack and then going back up and getting my work done. So any culture or place that has 7, 8 different meals throughout the day, not to mention snacking, like I feel either very full or very hungry just reading off that list. And no wonder the hobbits of Hobbiton look down on adventure. They have all that they want at home. Sure, I bump my head on every door and have to hunch over to move through a hobbit hole. That is a small price to pay for that laid back attitude where residents live like they're always on vacation. Minus the part at the end where, spoiler alert, Saruman ransacks the Shire. Because I'm focused on the book versions here, and that didn't really happen in the movie. There was a foreshadowing moment in the first movie where he saw the ransacking of the Shire, but that never actually happened in the context of the movie. Now, funnily enough, I want to eventually travel to the real location of Hobbiton in New Zealand. Yes, I'd be one of those tourists. My family went there and brought me back a travel guide. It's somewhere back here. I don't feel like reaching for it. So eventually that is on my bucket list. New Zealand is beautiful, and that's all more reason to visit there. Now, Rivendell is arguably the most stunningly beautiful location on Middle Earth since Numenor sank. That might be an honorable mention on this list, but those elves don't seem like they know how to enjoy life. I can't imagine what an elvish party is like, but the Hobbiton carefree attitude makes me fully support that ideal and want that to be my chosen vacation spot in Middle Earth. So, those are my top 5 and surprisingly the only 5 places I could think of that I would want to visit from the novels I've read. Really, we do not treat our settings very well at all. These places too frequently turn into bloodbaths or seats of corruption, or maybe not even, the settings might not even exist by the end of the book. But that's what stories need because without conflict, our tales will be boring. Now, I am Ben Pick. Thank you for joining me in Running to Write. Let me know in those comments where you'd brave to visit. If you want to go the Barrett Laurie route and see some real dinosaurs, I am very curious to know how adventurous you are. I post my running and writing progress on Instagram and X as Running to Write, so be sure to follow me and join with your own thoughts. Don't forget to sign up for the Running to Write monthly newsletter if you want regular updates on my story musings, what's going on in my life. I'll talk about the skiing trip I just took, and I'll be sending out a newsletter on the 3rd, so that it's coming up early next week. See you next time. Until then, think about what it would take to create our next ideal fictional location. Let me just see in chat how things are going over here. Let's see here. All right. Cool. So yeah, we're just talking about Percy Jackson and awesome, awesome, awesome. But yeah, Italy is great. Because that's what I said about the things about Spain, where there's delicious food, the rolling hills, all that. And yes, New Zealand is also a giant plus. But I'm about to go have some of my own good food. So I will see you all next week. And I hope you, I don't know, relax and live the life of a hobbit, savoring all the food and just enjoying life. There you go.